The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the gallery will retire. The senators and all in attendance, please stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Lee Gandia, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, King George. Following the prayer, everyone will please remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Senate Page Kate Slaughter of Charlottesville. Sir.
Let us pray. Creator God, fount of all authority and wisdom, whose love sets no boundaries and whose strength is in service, grant to all who lead and serve the Commonwealth of Virginia wisdom, courage, and insight, especially during this time of uncertainty and change. You warned us that a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Hear us as we pray for the healing of divisions and the life of this great nation. Help us to see that the things we have in common are of greater worth than those on which we differ. Deepen our understanding of one another's needs and our respect for one another's opinions, and unite us in the common cause of justice, truth, and freedom. This we ask for the honor and glory of your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present, please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam President. Senate Journal for Friday, January 21st, 2022.
I'm going to go get him and see if that's his.
The Senate will be at ease. Senate will come back to order. The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Madam President. Welcome.
Good morning.
Madam President, I respectfully move that the rules of the Senate be suspended that will allow remote participation by any member who may be experiencing a COVID-related matter.
question is, can the Senate suspend the rules so that a member may vote because of COVID-related issues? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion passes. Well, Senate Journal.
Senate Journal for Friday, January 21st, 2022.
The senator from Rockingham County, Senator Obenshain, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates.
We do not have any, Madam President.
The clerk will report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, Madam President.
Now comes the time in the morning hour when we have the honor of welcoming our distinguished guests. I will give my daily reminder that we will ask you to rise as your name is called, and then we will welcome you, and we will hold our applause until after I have spoken. It is so good for you to be here because this is your government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is your Senate, and we thank you for sending us here. The senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Rise for an introduction, Madam President.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'm very pleased to rise to recognize the minister who gave us the morning introduction. My minister from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in King George, the Reverend Lee Gandia, who we affectionately call Padre Lee. And Madam President, I would ask that all of us give him the warm welcome of the Senate.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Reverend. We thank you for being here and for that wonderful prayer. Thank you for all that you're doing for the Commonwealth. And I see your rows of ribbons, and that means you have done some military service, and we thank you for that as well. So you're in the Lord's army, and you're in the man's army, too. Thank you, and please, senators, join me in giving him the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for two introductions.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. In the gallery today are members of the National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws, or NORML, the nation's oldest and leading organization dedicated to advancing evidence-based cannabis policies. I was glad to join them this weekend for their informative 2022 Virginia Cannabis Conference here in Richmond, and they're visiting with us today for Virginia Cannabis Lobby Day in support of a number of bipartisan bills seeking to safely regulate the sale of cannabis to adults 21 and older. Madam President, I ask that you please extend to them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Will you please rise? Hello, and we thank you for coming. We thank you for wanting to see your government in action. And please come back and visit us again. And senators, please join me in giving them the warm welcome of the Senate.
And Madam President, for my second introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. We have two visitors with us today from the Washington Metropolitan Transit Association, better known as Metro. They are Paul Smedberg, chair of the WMATA board, who is a constituent of mine from Old Town Alexandria, as well as a former Alexandria City Council member. And he's joined today by Patricia Lee, WMATA's General Counsel. I understand that Mr. Smedberg will be speaking to the Northern Virginia delegation tomorrow night. So I ask, Madam President, that you please extend Paul Smedberg and Patricia Lee the warm welcome of the Senate.
Please rise. Thank you for coming, and we thank you for keeping the metro trains running on time. And we just thank you for caring about your government. So, Senators, please join me in welcoming our members of the WMATA. Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, a message from the House.
Please receive it.
The delegate from Pennsylvania, Delegate Adams.
Madam President, I've been directed by the Speaker of the House of Delegates to inform the Senate that the House has agreed to HJR 152 relating to judicial elections and certain elective officers and request the concurrence of the Senate.
Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you.
The Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteph.
Madam President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, today I'd like to introduce to the Senate Councilman Aaron Roosevelt Rouse. He's a former American football safety who last played for the Virginia Destroyers of the United Football League. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the third round of the 2007 NFL Draft. He played college football for Virginia Tech Hokies. He was also a member of the New York Giants, Arizona Cardinals, and Omaha Nighthawks. And in 2018, he entered and won the election for an at-large seat on Virginia Beach City Council. With that, Madam President, the senior senator from Virginia Beach would like to ensure that the Senate gives its warmest welcome to Councilman Aaron Rouse.
Councilman, thank you for being here and for seeing this level of government. We thank you for having wanted to run for office in the first place to make a difference as you ran to make a difference on another field. Thank you very much for all that you do. Please join me in giving the councilman the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Saravell.
Good afternoon, Madam President.
Good afternoon.
I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, joining us in the gallery today are 7 high school students and their chaperone who are visiting us today as part of the Puller Institute program that I do every year, where we bring down some young leaders from our high schools, show them what we're doing in Richmond. They watch us do some bills in committee. They meet with some advocates in the advocacy world. They meet with lobbyists. They've met with you, Madam President, a few minutes ago on the floor to find out what you do every day. They're going to be here both this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow. And if you run into them, I'd hope you get a chance to speak to them and tell them about what we do every day. We have Franklin Asare Bediaco, Genesis Amaya Hernandez, Theo Dia Ajadele, Elise Orr, Carson Marshall, Aaron Althouse, Logan Condon. They hail from my alma mater of West Potomac High School, my father's alma mater of Mount Vernon High School, Freedom High School in Prince William County. We have several members of the National Honor Societies. We have some varsity athletes in swimming, lacrosse, track, field hockey, and tennis. We have some Sorensen High School leaders here. And the average GPA is 3.7. They're all taking a lot of AP classes, and they're going to do great things in our Commonwealth once we give them a chance here after they graduate. Madam President, I would hope you could give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Please rise. Thank you for coming to your Senate. Thank you for wanting to see us in action. As we spoke before, we need you to get really, really good jobs so that you can support us on Social Security. But apart from that, we look forward to the future that you're going to have, and don't ever think that any road that you didn't take is a wasted life. Every road that you take informs you. Nothing is wasted. Thank you very much for coming. And Senators, please join me in welcoming our future leaders of America. The Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning.
Rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Senate in the gallery today, we welcome a very special family that means so very much to me and has for so many years. In the gallery, Madam President, is the Solis family, led by their mother, Heidi Davis Solis, the daughter of my mentor, Gil Davis, and then a great woman, Pamela Schofield. She's with her two sons, Andre Solis, who is a big, gentle giant, a wonderful young man, and he's going to do great things in the world. He currently is a senior at Westfield High School. He's joined by his brother, Ari, who's a sixth grader at Bull Run Elementary and is going to be a martial arts superstar. I just know it. Heidi, of course, is a teacher and has been a teacher for a long time. She teaches elementary strings and orchestra at Bull Run Elementary and Londontown Elementary Schools in Northern Virginia. Madam President, the Solis family came here today to learn about good government, but finding none down the hall in the House, they came here where we know good government resides. So with that, Madam President, I would ask that you extend the warmest of welcome to my sister, my little sister, and a family that I love so much, the Solis family.
Please rise. Thank you for coming, and thank you for knowing that, contrary to what you've just heard, the House of Delegates is a really good body after all. But we hope that you will continue to care about all that happens in your government, and that one day you too will be in these very seats that we occupy if you so wish. Thank you for coming again, and please join me in giving them the warm welcome of the Senate. The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning and welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's one of those dreaded requests. Yeah. I am asking the Senate for a unanimous consent to introduce a bill dealing with oyster leases in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have not met my bill limit as of this point.
Senator, could you please repeat that? Dealing with voice?
No, I'm sorry, Madam President. Dealing with oyster leases.
Oyster lease.
Yes, ma'am.
The question is, shall the Senate grant consent to introduce a bill relating to oyster leases? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senator Obenshain.
Vote. Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The motion is agreed to. The consent of the Senate is granted to introduce your bill. The senator from James City, Senator Normand. Does any other senator wish to be recognized? The clerk will call the calendar. You ready?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do.
We can do. The Senate will be at ease until you receive your paperwork.
They're going to send us a replacement. Yeah.
So we're not ready. I'm waiting on him. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, Semper Fi.
Good morning, Marine.
I move that the rules be suspended and the House Joint Resolution number 152 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and House Joint Resolution number 152 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all of the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote? Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the resolution now be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The resolution is agreed to. The chair directs the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, to inform the House of Delegates of the action of the Senate. The Senate will be at ease until the return of the senator from Roanoke City. The time for the joint order for certain judicial elections has arrived, and the Senate, on its part, is ready to proceed with the execution of House Joint Resolution number 152. Nominations are now in order for judges of the Court of Appeals of Virginia. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam Speaker, Madam President, came back from the wrong house. Madam President, I move that the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Joint Resolution number 8 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution number 8 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the resolution now be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Nominations are now in order for judges of the respective circuit courts. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution number 9 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution number 9 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the resolution be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Nominations are now in order for judges of the respective general district courts. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution number 10 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution number 10 be taken up for immediate consideration? As many as are in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the resolution be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Nominations are now in order for judges of the respective juvenile and domestic relations district courts. The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution Number 11 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended, the Committee on the Judiciary be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution Number 11 be taken up for immediate consideration? As many as are in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes again the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the resolution be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Nominations are now in order for a member of the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission. The chair recognizes the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move the rules be suspended and the Committee on Commerce and Labor be discharged from further consideration of the resolution. The readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution Number 12 be taken up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended, the Committee on Commerce and Labor be discharged from further consideration of the resolution, the readings of the title be waived, and Senate Resolution Number 12 be taken up for immediate consideration? As many as are in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The chair recognizes the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I now move that the resolution be agreed to.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? As many as are in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no.
We have a message from the House.
The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. The chair now directs the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, to inform the House of Delegates of the nominations that have been made by the Senate. And the Senate will stand at ease.
Sergeant at Arms, Mr.
He's here. Okay. Sergeant at Arms,
Madam President, a message from the House.
please receive it.
The delegate from Pennsylvania, Delegate Adams.
Madam President, I've been directed by the Speaker of the House of Delegates to inform the Senate that the House has made certain nominations pursuant to HJR 152 and request the concurrence of the Senate.
Thank you, Delegate. The Senate will be at ease. Pursuant to the joint order, it is now in order that the rolls be called. As many as are in favor of the nominees of the Senate as named by Senate Resolution Number 8 to be judges of the Court of Appeals of Virginia will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. All in favor of the nominees of the Senate as named by Senate Resolution Number 9 to be judges of the respective circuit courts will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. All in favor of the nominees of the Senate as named by Senate Resolution Number 10 to be judges of the respective general district courts will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote? Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. All in favor of the nominees of the Senate as named by Senate Resolution Number 11 to be judges of the respective juvenile and domestic relations district courts will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk.
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. As many as are in favor of the nominee of the Senate as named by Senate Resolution Number 12 to be a member of the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The chair now appoints Senators Sorovel, McClellan, and Peake on the part of the Senate to count and report the vote of each House in each case. The Senate will stand at ease until the committee returns. Order. The joint order under House Joint Resolution number 152 will be resumed. The clerk will read the report of the committee to count the vote.
The committee has reported as follows. Number of votes necessary to elect. In the House of Delegates, 51. In the Senate, 21.
The chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards. Senator, your mic is off.
Madam President, I move that the reading of the report be waived.
The question is, shall the reading of the report be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the report is waived. Those named in the report as having received the majority of the members elected, their votes to each House of the General Assembly are declared duly elected as judges of the Court of Appeals of Virginia, judges of the respective circuit courts, general district courts, and juvenile and domestic relations district courts, and as a member of the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission for the terms that have been set forth. No nominee having received the vote of a majority of the members elected to each House of the General Assembly, no election has resulted for the office of a judge of the Circuit Court of the 12th Judicial District for a term of 8 years commencing December 1st, 2022, and a judge of the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial District for a term of 6 years commencing December 1, 2022. Returning to our other business, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, January 24th, 2022. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move the Senate bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 1 through 5, that's Senate Bill 25 through 357, be placed on their final passage in a block. Any senator desiring to remove the bill from that block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 5, Senate Bill 25 through Senate Bill 357, be placed upon their final passage in the block with the understanding that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 25. Senate Bill 77.
Madam President. Right here, in this cage over here. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator from Stewart, Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Madam President. Could Senate Bill 77 come out of the block, please?
Without objection.
Senate Bill 93. Senate Bill 115.
Madam President.
The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. Could Senate Bill 93 on page 2 also come out of the block, please?
Without objection, Senate Bill 93 is removed.
Senate Bill 131, Senate Bill 142, Senate Bill 212, Senate Bill 222, Senate Bill 357.
The question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is, all bills except for Senate Bill 77 and Senate Bill 93 on page 2. All in favor of the passage of the bills will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 2, Senate Bill 77.
The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam President. I respectfully move that Senate Bill 77 pass. And speaking to that motion, please, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill was brought to my attention by several of my rural localities, and actually it is fairly simple. Currently, general reassessments of property values are determined every 4 years. What this bill provides is that if there is a majority vote of the County Board of Supervisors, then a general reassessment can take place every 3 years. First of all, this is permissive, not mandatory. Secondly, it requires a majority vote of the governing authorities in order to do that. The question is, why would we allow counties to do this? There are a couple of reasons. First of all, in some of our more rural counties that have significant waterfront properties, the value of the properties have gone up substantially. Secondly, is that many of these rural counties do not have a significant staff, and consequently, when they do a general reassessment every 4 years, they find that their real estate appraising staff is absolutely overloaded, and it is very difficult for them to meet the statutory requirements, or they have to go and hire outside individuals. So what this would allow is that it could be done every 3 years on a permissive basis.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 77 pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes no.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 93.
Senator Howell, the senator from Northern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move the bill pass and speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. This is a bond bill that for about $100 million for revenue-producing capital projects at James Madison University and Virginia Tech. It does contain an emergency clause.
The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to ask a question of the patron.
For what purpose does it?
To ask a question of the patron.
Will the patron yield?
I yield.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick question and just trying to understand. I know one of the concerns that some of the constituents that I have back home is the ever-increasing cost of higher education, and I'm just trying to get a better understanding. I believe you said this was a revenue-producing bill for JMU and Virginia Tech. Could you please explain to me, just help me to understand better, it looks like this is capital projects we're spending a lot more money, taking out more money, debt for these capital projects. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of where we're spending this money. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Madam President, I would say that this is the way we traditionally fund projects that are revenue producing. In other words, they produce revenue to the university through, for example, rent on projects or expenses on food on some others. This is just very typical, and each of these projects, the one at James Madison and the one at Virginia Tech, have gone through a long process of approval, and this is just the final authorization of the bond.
The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for purposes of supporting Senate Bill 93.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is not an unusual approach to higher ed funding. Such things as dormitories, parking garages, other capital facilities are financed like this, and obviously interest rates are extremely attractive right now, and these projects are required to have the debt retired by revenues that are produced. Consequently, as Madam Chairman reflected, that it can involve payment for dormitory rooms or parking facilities. So I would encourage the bodies to support this. We have done this many, many times without any great controversy, and this is a very appropriate time to do this, and these projects have been through a planning process. Also, Madam President, I would say that because the emergency clause is on this, we would like everyone to support it because it requires a 4/5 vote.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 93 pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bill passes.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 8, hunting on Sundays permits hunting on public or private land, etc.
The senator from Fairfax, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass and speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is basically the other shoe on the Sunday hunting bill. As you will remember, in 2014, we legalized Sunday hunting, and we did it on privately owned land. At that time, we exempted public land. And so we've had Sunday hunting for the last 8 years, and I think it's fair to say that civilization has not come to an end, although that may be up for debate. But the bottom line is there are people that would like to basically extend this right onto public lands on Sunday. And we have some of the best hunting and fishing lands in the nation that's owned by our own Department of Wildlife Resources, which, of course, cannot be utilized on Sunday. Now, I know there's a lot of strong feelings on this issue, but one of the things I would say is look at our surrounding states. In Maryland, where I have a hunting license, they've always allowed Sunday hunting. West Virginia, since 2018, has allowed full Sunday hunting. North Carolina, which was very similar to Virginia, had Sunday hunting on private lands, and then in 2021 opened up their public lands, which was 1.6 million acres for Sunday hunting. So I think the bottom line is this is just it's an access issue. I know that some people don't like Sunday hunting. I understand that. I'm not going to try and change their views, but I do believe that for those people that believe in outdoor recreation and you only get 2 days on a weekend, and this is one of them, I do think this moves the ball forward. So I would ask that you support the bill.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 8 pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 37. Sales tax authorizes additional local tax for constructing, etc. schools in Isle of Wight County.
The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam President. I would respectfully move that Senate Bill 37 pass. And speaking to that bill, please.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, for the last few years, we have individually been passing legislation that has primarily been helping rural localities with their school construction or their school improvements. And what we have done, as this bill reflects, is it allows the local governing board, in these instances the Board of Supervisors, by a majority vote and with a referendum, to agree to increase the sales tax 1%, dedicating that money to school improvements or school construction. It is not money that comes back to the state. Consequently, they do receive it. You will note, after you have exhaustively reviewed today's calendar, that there are 3 bills that are on the calendar dealing with this topic. This Senate Bill 37 deals with the Isle of Wight locality on it, and they want to be added to the list that is already approved of this. There is another bill that provides, for another locality, but then there is a comprehensive bill that is carried by the senior senator from Richmond that would allow all localities to do it. From a procedural standpoint, we agreed to move all 3 bills forward, and ultimately with the expectation that if the statewide bill passes, that we would roll all of the other 2 bills into that. So I would say that as far as Senate Bill 37, that all of the major businesses in Isle of Wight County have supported this. I have been in communication with many of them. The Board of Supervisors and the county administration is in favor of it, and I would respectfully ask your consideration.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 37 pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes no.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 12.
Ayes 27, noes 12. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 39, constitutional officers, form of ballot, party identification of candidates on ballots.
The senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, members, Senate Bill 39.
What purpose does the senator?
I apologize. Simply to speak on Senate Bill 39 asked to be approved. Thank you so much. Madam President, this bill simply adds party affiliation to the ballot for constitutional officers. Candidates running for these offices many times seek their party nomination, but then that designation is not on the ballot. Candidates who do not seek the nomination will simply be listed as an independent on the ballot. With the absentees and early voting, numbers at this time are highly, and people to go and they're looking for that party affiliation, and it's not there. This bill passed this body before, Madam President, but did not. So what are we afraid of? If you are afraid and ashamed to be called a Democrat, then run out the independent. If you're afraid and ashamed to be a Republican, run out the independent. So why do you spend all that money to seek your party in nomination, and then in November you want to be listed as the independent? Why? Madam President, what I did, so I called those who are close to me. City of Chesapeake, the sheriff, Republican, want to be on the ballot. The newly elected Commonwealth Attorney, Republican, Chesapeake, want to be on the ballot. Norfolk, the sheriff of Norfolk, Democrats, want to be on the ballot. Constitutional officer, Norfolk, want to be on the ballot. Commissioner of Revenue, Democrat, want to be on the ballot. Then let's go into my favorite place, Portsmouth. The treasurer, want to be on the ballot. Commissioner of Revenue, want to be on the ballot. So all I'm saying, Madam President, if you do not want to be listed on the ballot as a Democrat or Republican, you have the right to run as a Democrat. So why are we trying to fool our citizens by seeking a party in nominations, and then in November you're hiding behind a being independent? I'm asking, Madam President, this bill pass. Thank you.
The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to speak in favor of this bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I fully support this bill. Actually was a sponsor of this bill many years ago, and it passed out of the Senate. This bill allows our constitutional officers to have a party designation. I think this is simply good voter transparency bill. Many times, voters will come to the polls not knowing who to vote for. They can see a party affiliation for everyone except for our constitutional officers, and I think they deserve the right to know the party affiliation with our constitutional officers as well. For that reason, I fully support this bill and encourage my side of the aisle to do so as well. Thank you.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 39 pass? All in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote? Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 15.
Ayes 25, noes 15. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 298, Sales and Use Tax Local, Additional Tax in City of Charlottesville to support schools.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill is similar to the one that the gentleman from James City County spoke of. The city of Charlottesville has requested this. They've got a plan to reconfigure their approach to middle school, and their buildings are 50 to 60 years old, and they just aren't adequate to meet the needs of the school system. This bill, if it gets through referenda, if the local governing body approves the referenda, and if it gets through referenda, it's projected to raise about $12 million a year. So that will go a long way toward fixing the school construction problem they have in Charlottesville, and I hope you'll pass the bill.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 298 pass? All in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 12.
Ayes 28, noes 12. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 318, Campaign Advertisements, Independent Expenditures, Electioneering Communications, Disclaimer.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill is very simple and straightforward. It defines election communications, follows the federal definition. So communications 30 days before a primary or 60 days before a general election would be considered electioneering communications. The bill then requires that any organization or individual that happens to donate more than $1,000 for a statewide office or $200 for a local office, if, in fact, they place an advertisement on any venue, television, radio, social media, or at the various social media platforms, they merely have to disclose their top 3 donors. And that is this bill. There is no requirement on the part of the candidate or a campaign that may be involved in a referendum question. So I think that's important. And the other thing I need to tell you is that the organizations or individual affected by this bill would be independent, so they would not have had any coordination with the candidate or with a referendum committee that was organized to get a referendum either passed or defeated. So there you are. I respectfully ask that the committee pass this, and I can take questions or I can continue to talk. I do. Last thing I will say, Madam President, is this topic did come up in the joint campaign on campaign finance reform. Having outside expenditures with required to disclose their top 3 donors was really considered to be a transparency and accountability measure that many groups care deeply about, and according to polling, so do many Virginians. But that's my final comment, Madam President. Again, I renew my request that the bill pass.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to caution the members of the body to give this bill a second look. With all due respect to the patron, this piece of the bill with respect to disclosing the top 3 donors, that is actually the smallest piece of the bill, and that was, frankly, what we spent the most time discussing in the Privileges and Elections Committee when the bill was heard. But that is actually not what is the significant piece of this bill. The more significant piece is that if we pass this bill, it creates a major change in election law in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and here's why. As it stands right now, if you engage in independent expenditures prior to an election, you report those independent expenditures 30 days in advance of the primary and 60 days in advance of the general, if, and I say if, it is express advocacy, which is to say you are engaged in communications that clearly advocate for the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate. That means to say you're saying vote for or vote against. That's really simple. What this bill would do would be expand that to include things that are not express advocacy. So the new definition would include electioneering communications that are parts of independent expenditures that are not express advocacy. That is to say, the kinds of issues, communications that happen around an election time that are intended to influence the issues environment around an election, but don't advocate for the clear election or defeat of a very specific candidate. Now think about what that sweeps in. That sweeps in a lot of communications that, frankly, none of us would anticipate, one, have to be disclosed. Those donors have to be disclosed. They have to file those reports. I don't think that that's how far we want to go in Virginia. That's the first piece of it. The second piece of it is disclosing the top 3 donors in either of those categories. Both of those categories would now be required. And you have to disclose those donors in your ad. So it's in your TV ad, in your radio ad, and in your print ad. And so you have to step back and think about that a minute. I understand why it makes sense when you hear it. I understand why you would say, well, gee, that's just common sense. That's just some more transparency. But that's actually compelled speech. And you, the person who are paying for that advertisement, if you have to pay for the 3 or 5 seconds for some donor of yours who is your top for your first, second, or third, all of those biggest donors, you're paying for that out of the content time the expensive time that you're paying for the content of your ad. That's the first piece. The second piece is you're disclosing in something, if you're already filing as an IE, that donor is already publicly available. Anybody can go and look at every single donor that you have. What you're really doing is you're double disclosing that donor, and you're really subjecting the donor to a lot of, frankly, public abuse because it's all over television, all over radio, and all over print. And I think that, one, that is not really fair to donors because donors don't sign off on the ad. So think about your donor's name at the end of your ad. So there are lots of reasons that I think we should all pause. I understand the patron's intent here, which is transparency, but one, you're dramatically expanding the definition here in Virginia's code, and two, think about your donors. In this case, they're already disclosed, and I think you want to be really careful about compelling those donors to appear in every single one of your ads. Thank you, Madam President.
For what purpose does the senator from Arlington rise?
Madam President, if no other senator desires to speak, I would like to make concluding remarks.
Senator Mircea.
Thank you, Madam President. I will just say that on line 139 and 140 of the substitute, the language does say that electioneering communication expressly advocates for the passage or defeat of a referendum, and I have not yet found if that language is covered when we're talking about a candidate, but I think it parallels that. So clearly, the intent here is to influence the election of a candidate or expressly advocate for the passage or defeat of a referendum. I don't think there's much disagreement with the senator from Fauquier, but I will say that she is correct. This is real-time disclosure. And there are many folks who believe, and I am one of them, that having real-time disclosure on a certain ad will add a piece of information that would be valuable to the voter in terms of which groups are aligned with which cause or which candidate, and where is the money coming from that is really promoting either the advancement or the defeat of a referendum question. The commonality here is you understand an issue better when you follow the money. And this is really intended to help follow the money in a real-time way because the donors would be listed at the time the advertisement is up and running. So I would ask my colleagues to consider that benefit. And again, I hope and I ask that you pass this bill. Thank you.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 318 pass? All those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes no.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 15.
Ayes 23, noes 15. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 472, retail sales and use tax, additional local use of revenues for construction or renovation of schools.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill pass, and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is very similar to the bills we just passed, Senate Bill 37 and 298, which added Isle of Wight and Charlottesville to the list of localities who can impose up to a 1% sales tax by referendum and ordinance to fund school construction and renovation. The difference is this bill would allow any locality to do so under the same circumstances, except they won't have to come and get special legislation for us to then approve their ability to do it. This is one of 7 recommendations from the Commission on School Construction and Modernization, which took up work from the senator from Franklin, from Governor McDonald before us, to look at the condition of our schools across the Commonwealth. And what we found was that over 50% of the schools are over 50 years old. The total funding need to replace these buildings is over $24.8 billion. And the total renovation needs across the Commonwealth is even higher. Many of our localities struggle to pay those costs solely out of real estate taxes. This gives them another tool in the toolbox if it fits with their needs and they approve it by referendum. And with that, I ask the bill pass.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 472 pass? All those in favor in passage will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes no.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 12.
Ayes 28, noes 12. The bill passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move that all Senate bills, on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 7 through 16, that's Senate Bill 55 through Senate Bill 597, be advanced to their engrossment and third reading in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 7 through 16, Senate Bill 55 through Senate Bill 597, be engrossed and advanced to their third reading in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 55, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. I move adoption of the substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute for Senate Bill 55 be adopted? All in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 64, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 78, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam President. I respectfully move that the committee amendments to Senate Bill 78 be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendments on Senate Bill 78 be agreed to? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 100, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the committee's substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute of Senate Bill 100 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 106, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 149, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 150, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with an amendment, and I'm sorry, there's a floor amendment, no committee amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, Madam President, Senate Bill 150 floor amendment is a technical amendment to a very technical bill. First, I'd like to waive the reading of the floor amendment.
The question is, shall the reading of the amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading is waived.
Now I move that the technical amendment be agreed to.
Does any senator wish to speak to the amendment? Hearing none, the question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 154, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 183, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. I rise to move the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute of Senate Bill 183 be adopted? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 193, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 207, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 258, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 291, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 308, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 317, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment on Senate Bill 317 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 369, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move all 5 amendments be agreed to.
The question is, shall all of the amendments on Senate Bill 369 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 409, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Question is, shall the committee amendments on Senate Bill 409 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 421, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 444, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 479, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 533, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. Senate Bill 597, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
The question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed and advanced to their third reading? That is, all of the bills. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed and advanced to their third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 68, provisional teacher licensure. Teachers licensed or certified to teach outside of the United States. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendment on Senate Bill 68 be agreed to? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill now be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 68 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 102, arrest warrant criminal acts committed during a close pursuit. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Madam President, I ask that Senate Bill 102 be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 102 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 102 is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 121, contractors exemption from licensure for work providing remodeling, etc., valued at $25,000, etc. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
The senator from Tazewell, Senator Hackworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Question is, shall the amendment on Senate Bill 121 be agreed to? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No, just kidding.
Chair is uncertain. We're going to record that vote. The question is, shall the amendments on Senate Bill 121 be agreed to? All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Tazewell, Senator Hackworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
All right. The question is, shall Senate Bill 121 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 143, Court of Appeals of Virginia makes various changes to procedures and jurisdiction of the court. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with amendments.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move the committee amendments be adopted.
The question is, shall the amendments on Senate Bill 143 be adopted? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that Senate Bill 143 as amended be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 143 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 143 is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 225, Virginia Public Procurement Act, Architectural and Professional Engineering Term Contracting. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Madam President, I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third read.
Question is, shall Senate Bill 225 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 263, Housing and Supportive Services, ILT Initiative, Housing and Services for Older Citizens. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology, and we have 3 floor amendments.
The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Madam President, I move that the reading of the 3 floor amendments be waived.
The question is, shall the reading of the amendments be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading is waived. The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Madam President, I move that the amendments be agreed to, and speaking briefly to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
These three amendments are simply helping to define further what we mean by older Virginians, as was recommended by the committee. And I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Does anyone wish to speak to the amendment? Hearing none, the question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Madam President, I move that SB 263 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 263 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 300.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Committee. Opiate addiction, providers of treatment, elimination of local restriction, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 300 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 300 is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 439, Higher Educational Institutions, Nonprofit, and Public Hazing Policies, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
The senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Bosco.
Madam President, I move the substitute be agreed to.
I'm sorry, Senator?
I move the substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute on Senate Bill 439 be agreed to? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no.
Aye.
The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Northwestern Fairfax.
Madam President, I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 439 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 494, Virginia Human Rights Act, Non-Discrimination in Employment, Definition of Employer, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 494 is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 607, Board for Asbestos, Lead, and Home Inspectors, Smoke Detectors, Update Regulations, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Madam President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third read.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 607 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move that all Senate bills on first reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 20 through 24, that's SB 22 through SB 362, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 20 through 24, Senate bills 22 through Senate bills 362 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? Senator Obenshain.
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote? Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with.
Senior Senator.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I now move that those said bills go by for the day.
The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, now on their second reading, be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar. Oops. I'm at the wrong place. Regular calendar, Senate joint resolutions on third reading.
The senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair.
Resolution 12, I'm sorry.
I move that Senate Joint Resolution pass. I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill and the three resolutions that follow it are all appointments were made by the last governor. And some of them are people that are no longer in the office. This became an issue in the committee because there are certain cabinet secretaries, interim cabinet secretaries, who were appointed as people left the administration, and they're no longer in office. And people didn't remember us doing this before. We did a little research and found three instances where it was done just in the last several years. In 2009, I guess, after the election of Governor McDonnell, the senator from Northern Fairfax was the chair of the committee, and that included she had Senate Joint Resolution 55 that included a Secretary of Technology who was appointed on June 8th, 2008, but who certainly was not in office in the next administration. In 2018, let's see. Oh, I don't know that that's at the end of an administration, but in 2006, when the committee was chaired by the former gentleman from Chesterfield, Senator Martin, he introduced Senate Joint Resolution 127 that included Peter Blake, who was appointed as Secretary of Education on July 17, 2005, and also Sandra Rawls, Pierce Homer was appointed Secretary of Transportation April 1, 2005. So I would suggest that while there was some concern expressed in committee, there's nothing out of order with these resolutions, and therefore I would move SJR 12 pass.
The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam President. While I'll be voting for SJR 12 as a whole.
For what purpose does Senator rise?
I was explaining that to abstain from part of the resolution.
All right. The senator has the floor.
Thank you. While I'll be voting for SJR 12 as a whole, I will ask that I abstain on lines 30 and 31.
The journal will so note, Senator. Thank you. The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 12 pass? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. I'm sorry, this is a recorded vote. So, are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Thank you.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The Senate Joint Resolution is agreed to.
Senate Joint Resolution 13, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons, communicated to the General Assembly August 1st, 2021.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that briefly.
Senator has the floor.
This is the first resolution that includes a cabinet member. On lines 14 and 15 of the resolution, you will see that Joe Flores is appointed as Secretary of Finance to succeed Aubrey Lane when he resigned. But of course, Mr. Flores is no longer in that position. Again, I move that it pass.
The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution number 13 pass? All those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Are the senators ready to vote? And those opposed, no.
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Does any
Thank you.
senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Joint Resolution number 13 is agreed to.
Senate Joint Resolution 39, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated to the General Assembly December 1st, 2021.
The senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I move that the resolution pass, and I'd like to speak very briefly to that.
The senator has the floor.
This is yet another resolution, and as you can see, it also contains cabinet members who are no longer in that position. They're contained on lines 14 through 17. I would ask that you pass the bill.
The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. Just speaking briefly to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
While I'll be voting for SJR 39 as a whole, I will be abstaining from lines 324 through 325. Thank you, Madam President.
The journal will so note. The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 39 pass? All those in favor of passage will say aye. We're going to have a recorded vote on that. Are the senators ready to vote? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Joint Resolution number 39 passes.
Senate Joint Resolution 40, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated to the General Assembly October the 1st, 2021.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I move that the bill pass. I'd like to speak briefly to that.
The senator has the floor.
Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, on lines 13 and 14, there is a cabinet member appointed. In this resolution, of course, that person does no longer holds the office. Again, I ask you to pass it.
The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution number 40 pass? All those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Joint Resolution number 40 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolutions on first reading.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move that all Senate joint resolutions on first reading on the uncontested calendar, it's pages 25 to 26, that's SJR 26 through 50, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of the Senate joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 25 through 26, Senate joint resolutions number 26 through 50, be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Obenshain, how do you vote?
Senator Obenshain votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The reading of the titles is waived. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I now move that all said Senate joint resolutions go by for the day.
The question is, shall the Senate joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars, now on their second reading, be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate resolutions on first reading. Senate Resolution 4, relating to a replica of the chair used by Lieutenant Governor Justin E. Fairfax.
The Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Senate Resolution 5, relating to a portrait of Lieutenant Governor Justin E. Fairfax.
The Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I inquire of the clerk, does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to share some thoughts today based on a rather large demonstration that took place in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. As many of you know, January 22nd was the 49th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, and there were quite a few demonstrators on our nation's capital. And what concerned me the most about the demonstrations seemed to be a theme that abortion care was somehow a one-size-fits-all, and there was a very bright line. And in fact, abortion care should be treated very differently than any other medical practice. And I would say that most healthcare practitioners and doctors and others would say that there are very few medical practices that can be applied in a one-size-fits-all. Very few, if any. And Roe versus Wade really memorialized, I think, a woman's right to privacy and autonomy over her body. And this was a very important constitutional right, and it's a right that's really intrinsic to our Constitution. I would say to the body that there seems to be an overreaction and politicization of a procedure that is very much a personal decision, a decision that is complex, complicated, and should be made between a woman and her doctor. And it somehow has entered the political arena as a football. And I would say that as you look around the country, more and more, the General Assemblies that now have Republican majorities, they're passing pretty draconian laws. Laws that would be incredibly harmful to women, laws that would take us backwards, laws that would risk our health and our well-being. But I will say that the Democratic majority in this General Assembly in past years and now in the Senate will hold firm. We will stand firm on providing access to safe and legal abortion. In 2020, we removed so many barriers that were there to accessing abortion care. We removed the 24-hour waiting period. We removed requirements that information designed to stigmatize the woman be removed, and a number of other barriers. This is something that we should all stand behind as leaders in our General Assembly. And I just want to go over a story that I think captures the complexity of abortion, the fact that it is a personal decision, the fact that it is a very different decision for each woman. I don't know if some of you followed the referendum in Ireland. The story was about the main cause, or how shall I say, the catalyst of this referendum was really the story of Savita, Hala Painavar. And she was a 31-year-old dentist. She became pregnant. At 17 weeks of pregnancy, she went to the hospital with back pain and with an apparent miscarriage beginning. When the miscarriage was determined to be unavoidable and in process, Savita asked her doctors for an abortion. But rather than analyzing her case based solely on medical standards, the doctors declined to intervene based on Ireland's then in place anti-abortion laws. This is not the way medicine should be practiced. Savita's body did not expel the fetus despite her water breaking, and doctors continued to decline to intervene. She ultimately died. This is what happens when politicians put their own personal views in between a doctor and a woman when there's a very serious, and pregnancies are very serious, when they're very serious medical conditions. This woman died because of very severe anti-abortion laws in the country of Ireland. The referendum to overturn those laws did pass. I just want to remind you that an overwhelming number of Virginians want access to safe, legal, and affordable abortion care. And I believe that the Democratic majority in this Senate will stand firm in ensuring that access to such an important and vital medical procedure remains safe, affordable, and accessible to women, and that the government stays out of those very personal decisions. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. January 22nd is a very significant anniversary, and not just because I was born on that day many, many years ago. And I thank you all for the birthday wishes. Saturday was also the 49th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision, which established the constitutional right to an abortion. I'm old enough, really old enough, to remember the days when some folks could not access the abortion care they needed, and it's horrendous that the vast majority of Texans waiting to end a pregnancy currently have to travel hundreds of miles to access that fundamental right. The Supreme Court is expected to decide the fate of Roe this spring or early summer, which could result in people in many states across the country losing access to abortion overnight. Based on what the court decides, 26 states could move to ban abortion. 36 million women, nearly half of the women of reproductive age, 18 to 49, in the United States, and more people who can become pregnant could lose abortion access. I want to make one thing clear today. As we commemorate this anniversary, I am not backing down. I will do all I can to protect access to safe legal abortion here in Virginia. Every Virginian should have the freedom and power to make their own decisions about their bodies, their lives, and their futures. Abortion is essential health care. Now, I know some of my colleagues disagree, and several on the other side of this Capitol disagree, as I've seen all the bills introduced that attack this right. It's clear from the introduced bills that some of them don't even understand how health care works, pregnancy and child care either. Abortion restrictions like those in Mississippi and Texas disproportionately harm Black, Latino, and indigenous community people with disabilities, people in rural areas, young people, immigrants, and those having difficulty making ends meet. This is a direct result of historic racism, ongoing white supremacy, and coercive reproductive policies in our country. I hope this isn't the last Roe v. Wade anniversary we celebrate. But to the majority of Virginians who want abortion to be safe, legal, and accessible, know that I have your back and will do all in my power to protect your access, no matter what the Supreme Court decides. Thank you, Madam President.
The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. As has been stated, this past weekend, we recognize the 49th anniversary of the passing of Roe v. Wade. But we know that the rights that gave safe and legal access to abortion in this country are now in peril, almost a full half century after the passage of the landmark decision. Some in this chamber have not even been alive that long. I would like to address the wide divide between the rhetoric that seeks to restrict access to abortion and yet produces no meaningful action or policy to protect children who are the most vulnerable in our society. Those states that are poised to ban or to severely restrict access to abortion are almost all within the bottom of our list of states that have the most unfavorable economic and health care outcomes for their children. These states fall into the bottom half of state rankings on a wide array of measures that track the well-being of children and families, including childhood poverty, low birth weight and premature births, access to health insurance for low-income mothers, availability of prenatal care, and they also tend to be last among the share of children who are enrolled in early childhood education. Fully 15 of the 21 states that are now prepared to ban or severely restrict abortion actually rank in the bottom half of the states in the overall assessment of children's well-being. Nearly all of those 15 states fall near the bottom of the rankings. Mississippi and Texas, the states whose restrictive new abortion laws have triggered Supreme Court reconsideration of Roe v. Wade, they actually rank dead last and fifth from the bottom, respectively. And so I'm asking the members of this body to remember that any efforts to harm the access to abortion actually hurts mothers, their children, and their families. 59% of women who seek abortion are already mothers. Women who seek abortion are more than 3 times as likely to be poor. 49% are poor, while the national poverty rate is about 12%. And 55% of women who seek abortions report recent disruptive life events, such as the death of a close family member, job loss, the termination of a relationship with a partner, or overdue rent or mortgage obligations. And so these data points underscore the paradox that the states most committed to requiring women to carry pregnancies to term tend to invest the least in the health and the economic security of expectant mothers and the children after they are born. The research is clear. If we truly care about children, we must provide for safe and legal access to abortion, and we must provide support and resources to children. So when we talk about restricting access to abortion, it's the women and their children that are being harmed, and overall, our social fabric suffers. Thank you, Madam President.
The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of a personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Madam President, today on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade, I would just like to remind everyone that it's not a choice, it's a child. Abortion is infanticide, and to support or celebrate infanticide is beyond words. I stand for life, and my party stands for life, and I would just like to make a comment that we have a question that's not been asked yet, is why is it that Planned Parenthood puts their facilities in minority neighborhoods? That's the question that we need to ask. We need to fully educate young mothers before they make a life-altering decision. You know, I have friends, and they say that there are actually 3 in 5 women who have abortions. And so we don't condemn women, we affirm them and we support them. But, you know, my friends who have had abortions talk about the mental anguish of those experiences that they have had of ending a life. And we need to do our best to educate young women before they make those decisions. I would also like to talk about, we talked today about politicians putting their political positions ahead of saving lives and one size fits all. You know, here in Virginia, we have known therapeutics that are treating people for COVID and saving lives, like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Yet we have employers who mandate vaccines for COVID, discriminating against employees and forcing them to make a decision between a job and a jab. And I've listened to the reports today. Omicron is on the decrease, and I hope eventually that COVID is a lost memory, yet we will still have laws in our books that are mandating employers, especially healthcare workers, getting these vaccines. And I really say if we're going to be consistent in our arguments, then we need to make sure if we have autonomy over our body and we're going to advocate for that position and for personal decisions and access to safe and legal health care, then we need to make sure that we're consistent and that we do not allow employers to force their employees to get a vaccine whenever there are other alternatives that are even developing still today. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise for a point of personal privilege. Thank you, Madam President. This weekend, as you have heard from my colleagues, we have recognized the 49th anniversary of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision, Roe v. Wade, which affirmed a woman's autonomy over their bodies. And we are facing for the first time in my adult life the strong likelihood that it's going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. Before Roe, an estimated 1.2 million women each year resorted to illegal abortions, despite the known hazards of frightening trips to dangerous locations in strange parts of town, using whiskey as an anesthetic, sometimes going to an unlicensed practitioner in unsanitary conditions, people with incompetent training, resulting in infection, hemorrhage, disfigurement, and sometimes, sadly, death. Let's be clear. In the year 2022, 7 in 10 Americans believe that Roe should be protected, and women should be able to access abortion safely and legally. We sometimes break this down and say that this is a religious issue, but let me say, I know many people of faith whose theology supports safe and legal abortion care. Indeed, I know many members of the clergy, including my own father, who is a retired Episcopal priest. Sometimes people say that this is a Democrat versus a Republican issue. But again, I know many Republicans and independents who support abortion care, including many of my constituents, many of my friends, my own mother and her husband, who is a staunch conservative who watches Fox News daily, believing that a woman should have a right to make that decision for herself. This is the majority of Americans who agree that when a woman has made her decision to terminate a pregnancy, they want her to be safe. They want her to be able to exercise that decision without harm to herself. We know that unintended pregnancy doesn't just happen to Democrats. As we continue to try to make this a partisan issue, I know that women of all political stripes have chosen to get abortions. I went to a college in Southwest Virginia, all women, and in the 80s, it was filled with a lot of young women from conservative families. I was a resident assistant, and in the training that we had to understand what the problems were in the school. Well, guess what the number one reason for going to the infirmary was? It was to get a pregnancy test. These were girls from nice families who were facing those issues. You know, the people who are concerned now, who are watching what's happening at the state level here and who are watching what's happening at the federal level, they're concerned about losing this right for themselves. They're concerned about losing this right for their daughters, for their granddaughters. And you know what? They are gathering in living rooms all across Virginia and all across America to decide how to respond if indeed Roe does get turned over. Here in Virginia, we have been working really hard over the past few years, and we've made some very strong progress so that it is safe and legal and reachable for most people. I've given my community my commitment that I'm not going back. I stand with my colleagues here to say that, yes, we will be that brick wall. We are not going back. And on the 49th anniversary, I pledge to continue to work hard so that all people who become pregnant have the right and the ability to control their reproductive destinies. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Over the last few years, anti-abortion legislators and proponents have been alarmingly successful at pursuing abortion restrictions at the federal and state levels, which have made it even more difficult for women who are struggling economically to access abortion care. These same legislators have been very explicit about the goal of overturning Roe v. Wade, yet they saw no hypocrisy in the withholding of Merrick Garland's nomination to the Supreme Court and the railroading of Amy Coney Barrett through that same Senate Judiciary Committee before Ruth Bader Ginsburg's family even had time to grieve, just to justify the Supreme Court's role in making a mockery of women's reproductive rights. Due to factors such as structural racism and discrimination, women of color face rampant income inequality and are more likely to be covered by Medicaid as a result. They are therefore disproportionately impacted by the restrictions of the Hyde Amendment, which bans federal funds for abortion care with the use of Medicaid funds. Similar funding restrictions limit the ability of indigenous women who receive care through the Indian Health Service from accessing abortion. Anti-abortion proponents try to peddle the notion that women of color agree that abortion access should be further restricted. But recent polling from the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum, National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health, and in our own voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda, shows this to be patently false. A majority of women of color believe it is extremely important for women to have complete authority to make decisions about their bodies and their lives. Furthermore, 9 in 10 women of color believe that being able to control if, when, and how to have children produces both individual and societal benefits. Spewing alternative data and facts does not change this. Women of color's access to abortion care are even more critical when considering pervasive health disparities we face in comparison to white women. In nearly all aspects of reproductive health, women of color face poorer health outcomes than white women. From maternal mortality rates to endometrial and cervical cancer. Further, women of color, particularly black women, frequently have negative experiences in the healthcare system due to institutionalized racism and a history of control, coercion, and lack of bodily autonomy when it comes to our reproductive health and decision-making. Low-income women are more than 5 times more likely than affluent women to experience an unintended pregnancy. While the abortion rate for American women declined by 8% between 2000 and 2008, among poor women, it increased by 18%. Carrying an unwanted pregnancy to term quadrupled the odds that a new mother and her child would live below the poverty line. And women who were refused abortions were nearly 4 times as likely to live below the federal poverty line 4 years later, as women were allowed to make a reproductive decision. When young women were able to better access birth control as part of their parents' insurance plans, which is a provision of the Affordable Care Act, the abortion rate in this age group fell by 10%. Women of color already face layers of barriers in accessing abortion care. New restrictions only make it worse. We deserve more supportive policies that give full autonomy in deciding if, when, and how to become a parent, not bad medicine laws that further curtail choices. I close with a passage from Monica Hess's sobering op-ed in the Washington Post regarding the Right to Life March. She said, and I quote, "Your theme this year is equality begins in the womb, which is really smart. I'm excited for you to reveal the sweeping legislation you have up your sleeve pursuant to this extraordinary dedication to equality. The immediate passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, perhaps? Racial and economic justice initiatives to specifically help Black women and poor women? I hope I'm not getting my hopes up. Otherwise, I would think the theme would read, equality begins in the womb and also ends there." Thank you, Madam President.
Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I was a month old when the Roe decision came out, and it's one that I thought would never be in danger. But one of the things that I have discovered since is that even under Roe, abortion has not been accessible and available to everyone. As you've heard from some of my colleagues today, low income and women of color in particularly, and in rural areas, have not had access. And even under Roe, barriers were put in place that inserted this legislature between a pregnant individual and their provider. And when I got pregnant in 2010, it was historic, not just because I was the first sitting member of the House of Delegates to be pregnant while in office, but it was the first time that my OBGYN had a legislator as a captive audience. And over the course of my pregnancy, as I went in for checkups and ultrasounds, we had an opportunity to discuss how bills that were then being debated and would pass a couple of years later impact the provider-patient relationship. The doctor who administered my ultrasounds opened my eyes how abortion restrictions that became law here impacted particular patients. Susie, a married 30-something with a hole in her heart on birth control who got pregnant anyway. Beth, a pregnant woman who developed cancer. Each faced the heartbreaking choice whether to terminate the pregnancy or sacrifice their lives. Mary, who underwent fertility treatments to have a child, became pregnant with octuplets. The odds of carrying the pregnancy to term was very low, but if she reduced the pregnancy to 2, odds were better than 50-50. They both would survive. Amy, who suffered an incomplete or missed miscarriage in which the fetus dies but remains in the uterus, and an abortion is necessary to remove the fetus and the placenta. Robin, whose fetus developed the most severe form of spina bifida with horrific deformities. Her doctor suspected that the fetus was already paralyzed from the waist down, the paralysis would spread throughout the pregnancy. I could go on and on. And usually when these cases are brought up, my doctor would hear, well, that's not abortion, but it is. And it is because most state laws, and Virginia's in particular, don't distinguish between types of abortions, nor should it. Because regardless of the reason, the decision on what procedures to have and what health care to access should be between the patient and the provider. Under laws we had in place until 2020, each of those patients would have had to undergo a transabdominal ultrasound to determine gestational age, be given an opportunity to view the ultrasound and listen to the fetal heartbeat. We changed that in 2020 with a bill I was proud to carry and that everyone on this side, for the most part, voted for. Laws that restrict access to abortion harm the very patients they purport to help. Laws related to shutting down reproductive health centers, and I would invite this junior senator from Chesterfield. I guess she has not been to Hamilton Street and seen the neighborhood there. It is predominantly white. But laws intended to shut down these health centers made it impossible for patients to access safe, legal, high-quality care. And with the passage of the Reproductive Health Protection Act, Virginia has become a provider of refuge for many states. And if Roe falls, we will continue to be. I was dismayed, Madam President, when the Attorney General withdrew Virginia from the friend of the court brief filed in the pending lawsuit that will decide the fate of Roe, saying that upholding Roe was no longer Virginia's position. 79% of Virginians disagree with him. All of the ones you've heard from today vehemently disagree with him. And we will stand as a brick wall against any efforts to roll back the progress we have made on providing access in the past 2 years. Thank you, Madam President.
Fairfax County, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand on a point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Like the senator from Portsmouth, I'm old enough to remember what it was like before Roe v. Wade. I have searing memories of what those days were like. When Roe v. Wade came down, I was living in Mexico City with my husband and 2 very small children. And when I heard it on the radio, on CBS radio in Mexico City about Roe v. Wade, I pulled over to the side of the road because I was crying so hard. And I can still remember my older son, Eric, saying, "Mommy's crying, Mommy's crying," because they had never seen such a thing before. And it didn't happen very often. But I was crying because I had witnessed what had happened to some friends of mine before the days you could have safe and legal abortions. One of my friends, and I've talked about this before on the floor, and I'm sorry, it's still very hard, in high school got pregnant. She was a nice girl from a nice family, but she didn't know what to do. And so she killed herself. She killed herself. Another friend, a few years later in college, also got pregnant. She didn't know what to do. She did the only thing available to her, which was to go to a back alley abortionist. That did get rid of the fetus, but it also got rid of her ability to ever have children. She suffered ever since. I also remember a friend of mine, a man, who married somebody he didn't particularly care for or love, but he felt he had to do it. And these days that probably wouldn't happen, but you'd probably be paying for the rest of the child's life for that. I feel so strongly we can't go back. Regardless of the outcome of the U.S. Supreme Court here in Virginia, we must preserve women's reproductive freedoms. We can't ever go back. Thank you, Madam President.
Do any other senators wish to speak?
Madam President.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to speak on a brief point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, it's a sad day in the Senate. The calendar might say it's January, but it looks like it's June 2023 with the primary rhetoric, the poll-tested brick wall language for the Democratic primary. And throughout this entire situation, not discussing all the lost lives due to this. I had not planned to speak today, but it was something else to hear from the other side, how critical it was that abortion be safe, legal, and accessible. We talk about what we remember during our lifetime. The first presidential inauguration I remember was Bill Clinton, and I remember him talking about abortion being safe, legal, and rare. And I remember it was when the Democratic Party recognized, even though we might have disagreements on the legality, that it was a tragedy, each one of these cases. And it's sad that that's been abandoned today. Today we did not hear that this should be a decision made between a woman and her doctor. And that's something that's changed because one of those laws that's been so celebrated by the other side was it no longer requires a doctor to perform that procedure here in the Commonwealth. And that's very sad. We also heard about various laws that had been stripped down. And it was interesting hearing about all those Republican laws that must have passed, given how few Republican trifectas there were, when in fact, you know those bills were enacted into law with bipartisan support before the radicalization. It's also fascinating to hear an endorsement of Ireland's abortion laws, which I think you'd find a whole lot of folks on our side think are a lot more reasonable, where at 12 weeks is the general prohibition on abortion. What we've advocated is 20 weeks. But you think Ireland with 12 weeks as the general prohibition is preferable. I support that. And it's also amazing to hear on this, the 49th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, about the white supremacy involvement in abortion, because this is the first anniversary of Roe v. Wade where I'm aware that Planned Parenthood has finally acknowledged Margaret Sanger's, their founders' associations with eugenics, which they did so in the New York Times and talked about how they were no longer going to make apologies for those terrible things that she was connected to and the things that she did to women of various races. This is a very sad day in the Senate. We need to recognize that despite our disagreements about some of these laws, that each one of these situations is a tragedy. And it's very tragic to see all these folks lining up to speak like this today, as if we're in a Democratic primary trying to excite the rhetoric as much as possible. And it's very disappointing. It's very sad. I hope that we'll all work, regardless of our view, to reduce the number of abortions and not celebrate it. Thank you, Madam President.
Does any other senator wish to speak? The clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Monday, January 24th, the Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet 15 minutes after adjournment, Senate Room A, Pocahontas. Commerce and Labor Subcommittee on Energy will meet upon adjournment of the Committee on Commerce and Labor, Senate Room A, Pocahontas. Senator Spruill, Newman, Lucas, and Marsden. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment, Subcommittee Room 2, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Locke, Peterson, Cosgrove, and Hashmi. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Health and Human Resources will meet at 4 p.m., Senate Committee Room 1, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Howe, Hanger, Vogel, Barker, Deeds, Eben, and McClellan. Tomorrow, Tuesday, January 25th, the Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Economic Development and Natural Resources will meet at 7:30 a.m., Subcommittee Room 1, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Marsden, Ruff, Howe, Saslaw, Hanger, and Barker. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on General Government will meet at 7:30 a.m., Subcommittee Room 2, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Peterson, Newman, Lucas, Vogel, Locke, and Eben. The Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet at 9 a.m. in Committee Room B, Pocahontas. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11 a.m., Senate Room 1 in the Capitol. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m., Senate Room 2 in the Capitol.
The Senator from Portsmouth. Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon on tomorrow.
The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.